We spent several weeks talking about nonfiction books and nonfiction text features. And then this week we practiced, remember with the St. Louis Arch, we talked about how you don't necessarily have to read a nonfiction book from page 1 to page 30. You can kind of skip around based on what information it is that you need. The book is called
What's in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, What's in Washington, D.C.? And this is a neat picture on the cover of the book because it kind of shows you where some of the buildings are. So here you can see the Capitol, and then going straight down the row we see the Washington Monument, and then there's the reflecting pool. And then at the other end of the reflecting pool is the that's the Lincoln Memorial.
You could get your pointy finger because it's long.
I know. So it's kind of, they're all in a big long row like that. So inside, I heard a couple of neat facts when I was kind of peeking through the book. Some of you were asking about the White House rooms. Make sure you listen when we get to the part about the White House because there's cool stuff in there. All right, let's see what we can learn. What's in Washington, D.C.? Oh, we have a table in, table of contents. So we've got an introduction. We've got government buildings. We've got the National Mall. We've got more things to see, the conclusion, and the glossary. Oh, hey, this is something a little bit different that we do see in many nonfiction books. I don't know that we've seen it in a lot of the ones we've read so far. What do you see up here? Gavin?
I see the United States and I see Washington, D.C.
Yeah, so what would we call this? Something we've learned about. Max, what will we call this? A map, yeah. And many, many, many nonfiction books have maps in them. If they're talking about a place, it's going to show you where it is. But even like I've noticed in animal books, there's maps because they show you where animals live. So maps could be another important text feature in nonfiction books. All right, so here's our introduction, is what the heading tells me. Washington, D.C. is the capital of the United States of America. It has many interesting things to see and learn about. Are you ready to learn about some of them?
Yay!
And then, do you know what I love? I like to call these fun facts. Here they call it a did you know. So down here, it's got do you know? Washington, D.C. is named for George Washington, the first president of the United States. D.C. stands for District of Columbia. So Washington and District of Columbia.
Washington, District of Columbia.
That would be a long mouthful to say, so they shortened it to Washington, D.C. Okay, here's a cool White House fact. Ready, Camden? This is a cool White House fact. The White House is the office and the home of the U.S. president, the leader of the country. The White House has 132 rooms, which we knew about. But then listen to this. It has 6 floors, 32 bathrooms, 412 doors, 147 windows, and 28 fireplaces. Gents, I see a real photo with a caption down here. The caption says, the Oval Office has served as the president's main office since 1909. Around 5,000 tourists visit the White House each day. So this up here is the Oval Office. That's kind of where he does his work. And then lots of visitors like to go there, as we saw in the video. Oh, we know what this building is. This is the Capitol. Okay, this is something cool because we've talked about the Capitol, but what I didn't know is they talk about what's on top of the Capitol. So listen to this part. Congress works with the president to make laws. Congress meets in the Capitol building. The Capitol has a domed roof made of iron. But here's the part I didn't know. On top of the dome is a statue called Freedom. So I didn't know that he had a name. And it says down here in this caption, the statue Freedom wears a helmet and carries a sword and a shield. And here's another wacky fact for you. The Capitol building has 658 windows. And there are, more than the White House. And there are 108 just in the dome part. That's a lot of windows. Oh, this one we haven't talked about. This is a new place in Washington, D.C. Across from the Capitol are buildings that make up part of the Library of Congress. Listen to this. The library has over 164 million items. More than 12,000 books, maps, pictures, and other items are added each day. So I don't know about you, but I go to the library pretty often. I go to the Woodneath Library. Do you think that they have 164 million things in that library? No. So this library is ginormous. Down here in the caption, it tells us the books in the Library of Congress line 883 miles of shelves. That's the distance between Washington, D.C. and Florida. So if they took out every book and put them in a row, it would go all the way from Washington, D.C. all the way down to Florida. That's how many books there are. I would love it because you know I love books.
I bet you What if you followed every single book?
All right, we've talked a teeny tiny bit about this one, but not much. Near the Library of Congress buildings sits the Supreme Court building. The Supreme Court is the highest court of laws in the country. The art around the building stands for law and justice. Okay, so see this? This is one of the doors. Pretty fancy door, right? And this huge metal front door weighs around 13 tons. Many other government buildings are also in and around the city. Up here, under the caption, it says, the Supreme Court is asked to hear around 10,000 court cases a year, but it only hears about 80 of those cases. Okay, here we've got the National Mall, which we've talked about that it's not the kind of mall that we go shopping in. It's kind of that area between the memorials. So, the National Mall is a long park that starts at the Capitol building. People sometimes gather there for celebrations or to hold protests or marches. Many memorials and monuments line the National Mall. The Washington Monument honors George Washington. It is a little over 555 feet tall. It was the tallest building when it was opened in 1884. Ooh, guess how many? Do you know there's steps inside? Guess how many steps it takes to get from the bottom to the top. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Let's see who can get the closest. Paige, what's your guess? 210. Higher. Rich. 18,000. Less. Liam.
955.
Very close. Little less. Jude.
901.
Oh, very close. Little less. Gavin.
900.
Very close. Little less. Colt.
1,884.
Good guess. Little less. It says there are more than 800 steps lead to the top of the Washington Monument. Do you think you could walk up 800 steps? Oh, your legs would get so tired. All right. I spy on this page 2 memorials we've talked about and one we haven't. The Lincoln Memorial up top honors another president, Abraham Lincoln. He was the 16th president of the United States. This memorial has a statue of Lincoln sitting in a chair. It measures 29 feet tall. Other monuments and memorials line the National Mall too. They honor important leaders and people who have fought in wars. We've seen this one. The caption says the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial has a large statue of the leader. He helped make laws for all people. This one we have not talked about, but it's pretty important. It's called the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, and it lists, I don't know if you can see this, it's a big wall, and it is covered in names. It says it lists the names of more than 50,000 Americans. These men and women gave their lives or went missing during the Vietnam War. So this wall is covered in names of people who fought in the Vietnam War and died during that war. So it's an important memorial to honor those people. More things to see, Rich. Oh yeah, we learned about some of these from Levi. Washington, D.C. also has, I'm going to hang on just a second. I've got a couple of friends who need to check their body or their voice. Thank you. Washington, D.C. also has many other things to see. The Smithsonian Institution runs museums, gardens, galleries, and the National Zoo. Visitors can touch a rock from the moon at the National Air and Space Museum. They can see dinosaur fossils up close at the National Museum of Natural History. This is showing astronauts brought moon rocks back to Earth from space. And I believe Levi showed us this. Visitors can see giant dinosaur skeletons at the National Museum of Natural History. So man, if we, like I said, Miss Frizzle wants to take you all to Washington, D.C., because there would be so much for us to see there. Museums and galleries show amazing art. The Smithsonian American Art Museum has art from many different American artists. Other galleries show different kinds of art, such as modern art, African art, and Asian art. Oh, awesome. For people who like animals, the National Zoo has more than 1,500 animals on 163 acres. Visitors can see animals being fed and trained at different times of the day. These are just some of the many things people can see and learn about in Washington, D.C. The conclusion, that means ending, each year millions of people visit Washington, D.C. They come to see the amazing sights and learn about U.S. history and government. If you visit Washington, D.C., what do you want to see?